Hey, it happened on a quiet Thursday evening. The kind of evening where the world felt just a little softer. Muted sunlight, kettle whistling on the stove, the scent of garlic bread still lingering in the kitchen. I had just finished prepping a slideshow of photos for our wedding rehearsal dinner. I even added that ridiculous picture of her in her oversized hoodie and smeared eyeliner, laughing in bed after our first snowball fight. I thought she'd love it. Then my phone buzzed. Just one message. No subject. No emojis. No warmth. Wedding's off. My lawyer will reach out. I blinked. Literally blinked, like a glitching computer trying to reboot. At first, I honestly thought it was a joke. A dark one, sure, but we'd made worse jokes during stressful moments. Maybe this was her idea of humor before bed. But when I called, twice, and it went straight to voicemail, my stomach dropped like I'd swallowed cement. There was no follow-up. No explanation. Just that single, chilling sentence. A message so cold, it could have been copy-pasted to a stranger. My fiancée. The woman I met 4 years ago at a mutual friend's Halloween party. The woman who made me fall for her messy bun and the way she said, "Thank you," to servers like they'd just donated an organ. The woman who once told me she finally felt safe after years of dating men who only cared about control. She ended it in a text. I remember staring at the screen for a full minute. Then another. The slideshow was still playing in the background on my laptop. A picture of us on the beach looped in slow fade. Her, squinting against the sun, hair caught in the wind, hand in mine. We had just sat down with a mortgage lender that Monday. 3 days ago. We were buying our first house together, her dream home, to be exact. A 3-bedroom colonial on a quiet cul-de-sac near the school she always said she wanted our kids to go to. We'd spent months going through listings. She cried when we walked into that one. "It feels like home," she whispered. I said yes on the spot, because the way she looked at it, it wasn't the house I was buying. It was her dream I was trying to make real. But the mortgage hadn't gone through yet. We were in the final stages. My credit score, my income, my employment history, they were the keystone of the approval process. Without me, the loan was a non-starter. She knew that, or at least I thought she did. So I typed back just 2 words. No punctuation. No begging, just cold reflection. As you wish. And then, I got to work. No rage. No flurry of texts. No calling her friends, her parents, or begging for closure. I logged into the mortgage portal and withdrew my application. I called the lender and asked to be removed from the documents. I explained, calmly, that my participation in the home purchase was no longer viable due to a change in personal circumstances. The woman on the phone paused, hesitated, and then said she understood. Within 48 hours, I started getting calls. First from a legal assistant, then from her lawyer. At first, the tone was professional. "Mr. Hanley, we'd like to discuss some potential options to preserve the home purchase." Polite. Diplomatic. Like maybe I'd just missed a memo. I didn't return the first call. Or the second. By the third, the message was almost pleading. "We understand emotions are high, but this property is under a time-sensitive contract. Is there any chance you'd be willing to?" I didn't listen to the rest. I deleted it. By the time the 4th call came in, the tone had shifted completely. Not polite. Not pleading. Panicked. I let that one go to voicemail too. But I played it all the way through. "Mr. Hanley, we're calling again regarding the real estate transaction tied to your name. The seller has issued a notice of termination if financing isn't confirmed within the next 72 hours. We strongly urge you to reconsider your withdrawal. Your fiancé was under the impression, well, perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. Please contact us." A misunderstanding. That's what they called it. As if walking away from a man 2 weeks before your wedding via a 1-sentence text was some sort of clerical error. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. They'd figured it out. She had made a gamble. One she thought she could afford. But here's the thing about people like her. People who plan silently, like they're playing chess with hearts instead of pawns, they often forget one basic rule. You don't get to burn the bridge and then ask the ashes to carry your weight. That Saturday, I heard through a mutual friend that the seller backed out. The house was being relisted. Her financing had collapsed. Without my income, she didn't qualify on her own. She tried to get a co-signer, her parents, maybe, but it was too late. The seller had backup offers. She lost it. The house, the dream, the plan. And me? I went silent. Not out of cruelty. Not revenge. Just clarity. It became less about what she did and more about how quickly she'd done it. No conversation. No second thoughts. Just weddings off. My lawyer will reach out. In the vacuum of her silence, I found something I didn't know I'd lost. My self-respect. I didn't need her explanations. I didn't need the why. All I needed was that one moment of truth, when she showed me exactly how disposable I was in her eyes. So I believed her. And I let her face the fallout alone. I thought that would be the end of it. But it was only the beginning. The silence after it all fell apart wasn't peaceful, it was deafening. It's strange how quiet your life gets when you cut out the noise of someone you thought you'd be spending forever with. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for her to reach out, maybe even show up at my door with some sob story or explanation. But she didn't. Instead, I watched the days go by with this eerie calm, like the eye of a storm was sitting over my apartment. I started sleeping on the couch. Not because I couldn't sleep in my bed, but because the bedroom still smelled like her. Lavender oil. That expensive conditioner she loved. The faintest trace of cinnamon from the tea she always drank before bed. It clung to the pillows like a ghost. So I just avoided it altogether. For the first few weeks, I didn't talk to anyone about what happened. I couldn't. Everyone we knew was expecting the wedding: family, coworkers, college friends, people who had already booked flights and hotels. I couldn't stand the idea of explaining to everyone that I got dumped by text 2 weeks before saying I do. So I just disappeared for a bit. But you know how people are. They start sniffing around when something doesn't add up. One by one, the calls and texts started trickling in. Hey man, just checking in. Everything okay with the wedding stuff? We haven't gotten our itinerary yet. Should we still book a car from the airport? I heard from someone that you and Eliza broke up. That can't be right, is it? Eliza. Even hearing her name made me sick. Eventually, I called my mom. Told her what happened. She went quiet for a long time. Then she asked the only question that really mattered. Did you deserve that? I almost cried right then. Because no, I didn't. And finally saying it out loud made it real. I don't know what I did, Mom, I said. She just ended it. Mom didn't say much after that. Just that she loved me. That I could come stay at the house if I needed to. I didn't take her up on it. But it helped, knowing the offer was there. Weeks passed. The wedding date came and went. I'd taken PTO to be on our honeymoon that week. So I spent most of it holed up in my apartment with blackout curtains, binging trash TV, and trying not to think about where I should have been, drinking sangria on a beach, maybe, or watching Eliza dance barefoot in the sand. Then, out of nowhere, I got a call. Not from her. From her sister, Maya. Now let me be clear, Maya and I were never close. She was polite, but always seemed a little standoffish. Protective of Eliza, maybe. She never fully warmed up to me, and I didn't blame her. Her parents had a rough divorce, and I think she always suspected I'd break Eliza's heart. But this time, her voice wasn't cold. It was cautious, almost apologetic. Hey, she said. I wasn't sure if I should call, but I thought you should know something. I sat up on the couch. What is it? She hesitated. It's not my place, really. But I don't know who else will tell you. And I think you deserve to know. She told me Eliza had started seeing someone. Someone new. Or rather, someone old. His name was Brandon. I remember the name. Barely. He was an ex from way back, college, maybe earlier. The kind of guy who lingered around longer than he should have. Eliza used to joke about how obsessed he was, how he wouldn't stop texting for months after they broke up. I even saw a couple of those texts early in our relationship, pleading, pathetic stuff. She always rolled her eyes and told me she was glad she was done with all that drama. Apparently, she wasn't. According to Maya, Eliza had reconnected with him at a work conference 6 weeks before she ended things with me. That's when it started. First as just catching up, then late-night calls, then an accidental, weekend trip with overlapping hotel bookings. Maya hadn't said anything sooner because she thought maybe it was just a mistake, a one-time lapse. But when Eliza called her and said she was ending the engagement, Maya finally put the pieces together. She told me she was going to marry you, Maya said. Right up until a week before that message. I don't think she planned to tell anyone. She just jumped, like a diver off a cliff, and left me to hit the rocks alone. I remember sitting there, phone pressed to my ear, just nodding, saying thanks for telling me in the most robotic tone. I hung up and stared at the wall for a long time, not because I was heartbroken, but because I was embarrassed. I had been planning a life with someone who had already exited it weeks ago, who let me sit there picking out wedding songs and writing vows while she was slipping into bed with a man she used to mock. A man who wasn't there for her growth, her breakdowns, her victories. A man who didn't earn her, but just waited her out. That's when the guilt turned to anger. Because the more I thought about it, the more I realized she knew exactly what she was doing. Ending the engagement was just the final move in a game she'd already finished playing. She probably assumed I'd still help with the mortgage, that I'd cave, or offer support, or God forbid, compete for her back. That's why her lawyer called. That's why the tone kept changing. She didn't just want out of the wedding. She wanted out clean. But clean isn't how betrayal works. I didn't respond to Maya. I didn't text Eliza. I didn't go on some public tirade or burn her stuff or call her out on social media. I just waited. And a few days later, karma showed up. Not for me, but for her. Because it turns out, Brandon wasn't exactly a free man when all this happened. He was married. Brandon was married. I found out the same way most people find out anything these days, through social media. Well, technically, through one of Eliza's old coworkers who still followed me on Instagram. She DM'd me out of the blue. Hey, I wasn't sure if you'd seen this, but check out at Melanie_Ann_Brandon. Might give you some answers. I didn't want to look. I swear, every part of me knew it would feel like ripping a bandage off a bullet wound. But I clicked the handle anyway. The account belonged to a woman named Melanie Harper. Her bio: wife, dog mom, marketing exec, human espresso machine. It was painfully normal. Her profile photo was her and Brandon, noses touching, holding a tiny French bulldog between them like a newborn. My stomach turned. The latest post was from just 3 days ago. A selfie of her in a hotel lobby with the caption, "Can't believe he's still delayed again." For hours in a lobby while my husband wraps up networking drinks. Guess some things never change. Weary face #LoveMeJob #UG. One comment caught my eye. At Eliza.Sage like this post. I clicked Eliza's profile. Gone. Deleted. Vanished. Or maybe blocked. I went back to Melanie's and scrolled further. More photos. Anniversary posts. Beach vacations. One of them apple picking last fall, the same weekend Eliza had told me she was going to visit her sister. Brandon's arm was around Melanie in that photo. But he was wearing the same watch I'd seen in a blurry picture Eliza once took, accidentally, at a work event. It all started to spiral then. I couldn't sleep that night. My brain was buzzing. Not with jealousy, oddly. Not even rage. But this deep, humiliating ache. I had been cheated on in spirit. Lied to. Ghosted out of a future I was actively building while someone else had been planning her exit behind my back. And worse, she wasn't even the main character in her own betrayal. Brandon was married. Eliza was the other woman. Somehow, I'd been demoted to a footnote in their pathetic little drama. It got worse. About a week after that, Melanie messaged me. Not a comment. Not a public post. A full message. Hi. I hope this isn't too weird. I'm Melanie, Brandon's wife. I thank you, and I may have some things to talk about. I sat there, staring at it, heartbeat in my throat. She had no idea who I was until recently, she said. She only started to suspect something after noticing strange gaps in Brandon's schedule. Late-night calls he wouldn't explain. Hotel receipts that didn't match the locations of his supposed conferences. The usual trail left behind by a man who's terrible at hiding infidelity. And then she found a photo on his phone. One that Eliza had taken of herself in a bathroom mirror, my bathroom. The orchid plant on the counter. My gray towel hanging slightly off-center. The corner of the framed poster we got in Portland 2 summers ago. Melanie had no idea who Eliza was. But she reverse-searched her face through an app and found old engagement photos Eliza and I had posted to our wedding website before we took it down. That's how she found me. We exchanged a few messages, mostly factual. She wasn't angry with me. I told her the same. In some sick way, we were both victims of the same manipulation, different timelines, same wreckage. She asked if I knew how long they'd been involved. I told her what I knew. At least 6 weeks before the wedding, maybe longer. Melanie went silent for a while. Then she typed, "I'm filing for divorce. I wanted to thank you for confirming what I already suspected. I'm so sorry this happened to you." I didn't know what to say back. So I just typed, "Same to you." After that, I didn't hear from her again. Eliza never reached out. Not once. Not after the mortgage collapsed. Not after the wedding date passed. Not even after her affair blew up in her face. But I started to hear things quietly from mutual friends who were still unsure where their loyalty stood. Apparently, Brandon didn't take the fallout well. After Melanie left him, he assumed Eliza would be thrilled. They could finally be together in the open. No more sneaking around. But reality doesn't work that cleanly. Eliza panicked. Without the house, without me, without the ring or the honeymoon or the safety net, she had nothing. Brandon became a mirror to everything she'd tried to escape before: neediness, instability, selfishness. And now, she didn't even have the moral high ground. She wasn't the one who'd been cheated on. She was the accomplice. Within a month, they were done. I didn't gloat. I didn't post cryptic quotes online or write some revenge thread on Twitter. I just got up earlier, started running again, cleaned my apartment, went back to the bedroom, changed the sheets, finally threw out the dress shirt I'd bought for the rehearsal dinner. It felt like shedding a skin I'd been suffocating in for years. Then, one morning, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name, scrawled in handwriting I recognized instantly. Inside, one page. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I miss you. Every single day, I think about what we were supposed to have and what I threw away. I made a mistake, the worst one of my life. I hope one day you'll remember the good parts. I still love you. D. That was it. No apology. No explanation. No real ownership. Just a gentle nudge toward nostalgia. She wanted me to remember the good parts. I folded the letter once, then twice. Dropped it into the shredder. Let it hum softly as it turned her words into meaningless ribbons. Because I did remember the good parts. And that's exactly why I knew they weren't worth going back to. You'd think that would be the end of the story. That the letter was her final word and my silence the closing statement. But real life rarely ends with clean lines and emotional closure. People don't just vanish. They linger. Especially when they've tethered themselves to your life for years. About 2 months after the letter, I ran into her. At a grocery store of all places. Not even in our old neighborhood. This was across town. I was picking up coffee beans and paper towels. She was walking out of the wine aisle with 2 bottles of red and her eyes glued to her phone. She didn't see me at first. But when she looked up and met my eyes, everything stopped. No dramatic music. No slow-motion reunion. Just 2 people frozen in front of a display of discount cereal, both looking like they'd seen a ghost. She looked tired. Not sick or ruined, just dimmed. Like someone had unplugged the spark that used to light her up. Her hair was a little frizzier, her makeup uneven. She wasn't wearing a ring. No sign of Brandon. For a second, I wondered if she'd say something. But she didn't. She just stared. And so did I. Then I gave her a small nod, barely perceptible, and walked past. That was it. No words exchanged. No grand scene. Just a quiet moment in the middle of a store that used to be ours. That night, I told my friend James about it. He used to double date with us sometimes, back when Eliza and I were still a thing. He laughed and said, "Dude, you handled that like a goddamn muck. You didn't even throw a single box of pasta at her." I smiled. But the truth is, it didn't feel like strength. It just felt done. A few weeks after that, I got a text from an unknown number. "Hey, I hope you're well. I heard you ran into her. She's not doing great. Just thought you should know. Maya." I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? Tell her I'm sorry? That I miss her? I didn't. I missed the idea of her, the version that existed before she tore us down with a single text message. I started dating again. Slowly, cautiously. Nothing serious at first, just coffee dates, short walks, harmless conversation. It felt weird learning someone else's stories after spending years memorizing Eliza's. But also kind of freeing. Like tasting food without checking if someone else liked it first. Eventually, I met someone. Her name's Nina. She doesn't feel like Eliza. She doesn't try to. And that's what I like most about her. She's sharp in a quiet way. Never afraid to ask hard questions. But she listens. And when she laughs, it's not a performance. It's real, from the gut, loud and totally unfiltered. One night, we were sitting on my balcony, drinking cheap wine and watching the city lights blur in the distance. She asked me if I'd ever been in love before. I told her yes. Then I told her that person ended things over text 2 weeks before our wedding. Her eyebrows lifted, but she didn't say anything right away. Eventually, she asked, "Do you still love her?" I thought about that. Really thought. I said, "No. But I used to." And that version of me, that guy, he really did. She didn't press. Just nodded and poured more wine. And that silence meant more than any speech Eliza ever gave me. I think part of me will always carry the scar. You don't build a future with someone and walk away without residue. But scars aren't open wounds. They don't bleed. They just remind you that you survived. I never did find out exactly why Eliza left the way she did. I have my theories. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was selfishness disguised as liberation. Maybe she just wanted to start over without the burden of accountability. But in the end, it didn't matter. Because here's what I learned. If someone treats you like you're disposable, believe them. If they think they can throw you away and still count on you to carry their dreams, let them drop. And when they finally realize what they lost, when they reach out with empty apologies or cryptic letters asking you to remember the good parts, you owe them nothing. Not your rage. Not your pity. Not even your closure. Some endings don't need punctuation. Just silence.